Hello again YouTube, Mad Dog here, welcome back to my channel. So on tonight's little video I thought I'd do a quick show and tell of how I make my char cloth. Little plug, I do sell this stuff on my eBay shop. There's the finished product. I normally sell 4 or 5 rolls of this stuff in these Ziploc bags, so you do get quite a good quantity, which I'll demonstrate later on. Not many differences that I employ to everybody else when making this stuff. I guess the only differences that I could sort of point out is the fact that I do make this stuff maybe in more bulk quantity than normal, purely because I'm doing it for my shop. And secondly will be the material that I use. So I'll roll the intro and we'll have a quick look around that. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. So the material that I use obviously is 100% cotton, and I actually buy this material in bulk because it is a very high quality, close weave, thin, but because of the ply, quite stretchy material. Don't know if this will pick up in this lighting in here, but it is quite a close woven 100% cotton. Now I've brought this for years and years. It is actually available in the automotive industry for high finish polishing cloths. So it comes sterile, clean, dust and lint free. It's dusty now in the shed because, you know, I'm in the shed and this is where I do all my sanding of wood, etc. But for what I'm going to be using it for, that doesn't matter. Now, before I get a lot of comments about, well, why don't you use denim, you know, off jeans, etc, etc. Yes, I have used denim before and various other materials excuse me, which all work perfectly fine. However, I found over years and years of using this stuff that I've stuck with this purely because once it's charred, it retains some strength, as in it doesn't just fall to bits on you straight away, and because of the weave and the fact that it is thin, once it is charred, how do I explain this? The pores open easily, therefore the slightest spark has to land just somewhere near on this material, and because it's got lots of oxygen flow through those pores, we'll get a hold straight away. Whereas on some denim materials, because the material is more dense, yes, it's fluffy and fibrous, but there isn't as much how do I say, available oxygen within the pores of the material because it's more dense. So therefore you need some good direct hits to make it go. Just my thoughts, my opinions, and what's worked well for me over many years of trial and experimentation. Like I say, I've used denim, I've used all sorts of materials, to be honest, over the years, not just char cloth. Obviously we can char a lot of materials, but this is the material that I found works best for me. And what I do is I cut it up into good size strips, as I'll demonstrate in a moment. I roll it up and I put the obviously the rolled pieces into my old faithful char cloth charring tin. So I do quite a good batch quantity at a time. So I'm going to cut some of this up now, and I'll show you how much goes into one packet of my material. As you can see, one sheet is quite a substantial piece of material, and 2 or 3 of these go into each bag of finished product, believe it or not, because its shrinkage rate is quite vast. So stay with me and we'll crack on. So when I'm rolling this material, I stretch it out a little ways because I really want to open the fibres and condense them somewhat, so that during the charring process there is actually less oxygen in there, because obviously the whole idea of this process is to char the material, exposing it to high temperatures, burning off the actual substances that create the material without actually combusting it. So I generally roll it into quite a tightly packed sausage like that, cut it in half, and then I pack out the tin. Now what I do is I get the tin full with that sort of spacing. So if you can imagine the tin full, once I've done I'll show. That's the sort of spacings I leave, so not much room for air. So I'll finish this and we'll cut back. Okay, so I've got the tin as full as I normally like to go with it. That's about the volume that I run with, thereabouts, give or take one roll or two. So I guess now we need to get ourselves a filet. Before doing so, I just want to explain also that in the top of the tin there is a small hole. It's not massive, doesn't need to be. You get a lot of gases escaping naturally around the lid on this particular tin, so it's no big deal. Little tip here, a lot of people will say that once you've removed your tin from your fire, to place a penny or something, you know, hard and cold across the top to seal any oxygen getting into that. What I do is nothing spectacular, but just works for me. Just pinching the lid together a little bit there. Is once this comes out of the fire on my, you know, with some tool or implement to hold it, is I just turn it upside down and put it on the ground. Obviously heat rises, oxygen won't be able to get in that way, so just saves a bit of a faff. Welcome back. So I'm outside by our chimney here. I'm just going to pan you down here a little ways and we'll get this fire going. So okay, so I think that's going well now. The twigs and the branches, by the way, they're just off the old grapevine that I used to have up the yard, along with a few sticks off the old cherry tree, which has unfortunately died now. So anyway, once this is really going and established, we're going to put our tin into there and get ourselves some char cloth on the go. Stay tuned. Alrighty, that's looking pretty good now. So in with the tin. Just make sure the lid's on good and tight. Yep, happy with that. So what I do now is I give it basically 15 to 16 minutes for that sort of load. That's normally good. I keep an eye on, obviously, when the gas has stopped being expelled from the container. It's normally a good indicator that everything's done. Once that has happened, I normally give it 1 or 2 minutes longer, just to be sure, before taking the tin back out. But that's just the way I do it. Hopefully, as you can see just here, I don't know if this will pick up with this lighting, but there's starting to be gases emitted already. Doesn't take long. Basically what I do is I'll rotate the tin round every 5 to 6 minutes, so 2 or 3 times during this process, just to make sure I've got an even temperature distribution throughout that charring process. Obviously, whilst you're moving your container around in the fire, you've got to make sure that the lid always stays on, obviously. We'll let that do its thing, and after the 15 minutes is up, we'll cut back and see what we're left with. Stay tuned. Okay, so about 16 minutes has elapsed now, so I'm going to take the tin out as best as I can. Drop it on the floor. There's my penny down here a little ways. Can't really see it now, it's getting quite dark. And I'm just standing it on its head, upside down. And this is where another little tip or trick comes in. Don't attempt to move your tin until it's absolutely cold. If you try and do anything with your char tin whilst it's just warm to touch, even as soon as you open the lid, oxygen will go shooting in there, and it will be enough to ignite all your precious freshly made char cloth. So my advice would be patience is key here. Always let your tin go completely cold before you do anything at all with it. So once that being said, once our tin is completely cold, I'm going to take it up the shed and have a look what we're left with. Welcome back. So the tin is completely cold now, completely cold to touch. Like I say in the previous clip, if there is any hint of warmth to the exterior of the tin, let it cool, be that extra little bit patient, or the oxygen will get in there and you'll lose the lot. Trust me, I've done that many times. So right, let's see what we've been left with. Beautiful, that looks good. There's a few sparkly bits on the top, but that's just the shale coming off the tin. But yeah, that looks well cooked, well charred, and plenty of it. So I guess there's only one thing to do now, and let's have a bit of a demonstration. So I'll take one of the rolls out, put the lid on, and let's unroll some of this. So as you can see, in one roll you do get quite a lot of char cloth, and this is one of the smaller pieces that are in there. So as you can see, quite a lot, and as you can see, it holds itself quite well. It's still, you know, relatively stable to touch and hold. It's not just falling into masses of small pieces of dust. So let's get my little flint and steel kit going here. I guess that's what it's all about. Find me a nice sharp piece of flint. There we go, that should do. Right, so I want to take a piece of our char cloth that we've just made, put it on the side. I've got a bird's nest just down here. Let me pan you down here a little ways. Do excuse me. Crikey me, I'm all fingers and thumbs today. There we goes. So I've got a bird's nest just made out of pine bark, a few dried bamboo leaves, bits of grass type of thing. Let's see if we can't blow it to flame. I've got the shed door open ready with my little fire pit just outside as well, so try and get this in camera shot. There we go. So we've caught straight away. Now, like I've said many times before, what I like to do then is take another additional piece of char cloth and put my initial ember into that before I transfer this to the bird's nest and blow it to flame. That way I'm increasing the size of the coal, increasing the temperature, and more temperature can then be transferred into your bundle. Which means you have a better chance of blowing it to flame before you actually burn through and use all your char cloth, and just burns itself out to nothing. Nice and steady. That's pretty much going now. Struth, that's damp. We get there in the end. And like I say, that is damp tinder. I've got it off the yard earlier on today, and it has been absolutely tipping it down over here in the UK, so it is effective. You can see all the steam coming out of that, crikey me. Wow, that's smoky. Just let me throw this into the fire pit. Do excuse me. Alrighty. Oh, crikey me. Ooh, that's pretty smoky in here. Ooh, wowzer. But as you can see, the char cloth works straight off the bat. And again, if you do hop over to my little eBay shop, I do sell this stuff. I do, as you can see, there's, I think there's at least five in there. So you get plenty of char cloth to experiment with. Like I say, this was one of the smaller pieces, as you've seen, and there's plenty of it, you know. So I just thought I'd quickly show you how I make my char cloth. It's all done here at home with this little biscuit tin, down the yard in the chimney here, or up my garden in the fire pit. I never outsource anything that I do on my shop. It's all done by myself here at home. So I just thought I'd quickly show you how I do that. Take care out there. Thank you all very much for your continued support and watching. I really appreciate it. And like I say, for you guys and lasses that already know all this, I apologise again for the redundancy. But you know, we've all got to start somewhere, right? So anyway, whew, get out of this smoky shed now. So until next time, have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Mad Dog signing off. Yeah!